Welcome to our first ever episode of CPAs in Cars Coaching Candidates. And my name is Bryan Kesler, and I've got something completely new and crazy for you today. But first, have you ever wondered if an MBA is more valuable than a CPA license? Would you like to know why completing thousands of multiple choice questions isn't enough to pass the CPA exam anymore? And would you like to know the old school method of learning that will actually help you pass? I thought you would, so please keep watching. So in today's episode of CPAs in Cars Coaching Candidates, I am traveling to the world famous Myrtle Beach to introduce you to Dr. Phil Yaeger of Yaeger CPA Review in a way that has never been done before. So Phil and I, after chatting, we discovered that we have the same three passions: helping folks pass the CPA exam, coffee, and 10-key calculators. And we are sharing all three of these with you in today's video. And a big shout out here to Phil's wonderfully patient wife, Bonnie, who was our resident videographer for today's video. And we couldn't have done it without you, Bonnie, so thank you. And like Bonnie, this video also wouldn't have been possible without our sponsor for today's video, mycpaexammentor.com. So what is My CPA Exam Mentor, you might ask? Well, it is the ultimate bundle of CPA exam study materials and CPA exam mentorship resources. And this bundle includes both full Yaeger CPA review course and my premium CPA exam mentorship program, Ultimate CPA Exam Guide. So check out all the details at mycpaexammentor.com to see if you're a good fit. All right, so let's get started with today's show. Hey, Phil.
Hey, Bryan.
Just rolled in.
God, you're tall.
Nice to meet you.
Actually, I just grew 5 inches standing on the step. Yes. What's going on, Bryan?
Well, I was thinking we could grab some coffee, then go over to the big office max and pick up some accounting supplies. Are you game for that?
Oh, God. You know,
Can never have too many.
It's either that or watching The Price is Right. Let me think about it. Accounting supplies. Okay.
Accounting supplies?
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's head to my car
Yeah.
and we'll get moving.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, welcome, Phil. So today we're doing CPAs in Cars Coaching Candidates. So I've got a lot planned for today. We're gonna go grab some coffee. I think you got a good place to go, right?
Oh, God. Best coffee on that street.
All right, we'll go check that out. And then we're gonna go and grab some 10 keys, because as an accountant, you can't have too many 10 keys. So before we get coffee, I just want to start off with a quick question. So what are your thoughts on the power of the CPA exam versus getting an MBA? So that's something that I get asked all the time is, Bryan, is the CPA exam, is it really worth all the trouble when I already have an MBA? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, an MBA probably in many respects might be easier to get than taking the CPA exam and passing it. But the problem is people are taking and getting MBAs from these schools that are profit-making organizations and online who have a terrible reputation, all right? So they're really, in many respects, a degree mill. And people say, hey, I got an MBA now. Well, yeah, if you have an MBA from Harvard, that makes you stand out because there aren't that many MBAs from Harvard.
Right, and it was Ivy League.
Right, but there are these people from these other online profit-making type things. They're really not recognized by companies as a good MBA. So
when you compare that to the CPA exam.
Yeah. The CPA exam, if you passed the exam and I passed the exam, we passed the same CPA exam. You took it in one state, I took it in another state, all right? The state you took it in isn't any easier than the state I took it in, all right? Because it's the same exam. All right? So the CPA, AICPA, has marketed that certification for years. And that is probably the hardest professional exam there is. Even harder than most of the bar exams.
Oh, absolutely.
All right? So, because they've done a tremendous job marketing the CPA, all right, people just assume if you have a CPA, you must have a knowledge of the accounting or even finance area. Because you can have the CPA and not necessarily stay in accounting. It could give you a back door to finance. You can still go into management.
Yeah. Government.
Yeah, government. But the point is, you won't get it, because if you don't, you may regret it down the road. And we could take ourselves, right?
Sure.
All right. Your business, you got the CPA.
Yep.
Did that open a door for your business?
So many doors.
Okay. And obviously, all right, I can't teach a CPA review course unless I'm a CPA.
Right.
All right. And in fact, I remember when I started teaching, I was teaching for someone else. They said to me, "Are you a CPA?" And I said, "Yeah," because they thought maybe they had a non-CPA. Oh. And I said, the only time they have a non-CPA is generally where they teach business law.
Right. Something very specific.
Which is, an attorney.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, in my experience, if you don't have the CPA, you're really going to lock yourself into one job. It's so much more difficult to switch careers and do it well, or even progress in your own company. But with the CPA, I've got friends who became teachers. They go to the FBI. Take me, I coach CPA candidates. I mean, there's just so many different things. It's probably one of the most diverse licenses that you can have. That's any industry is going to recognize it. So yeah, getting an MBA is great, and then if you can add a CPA to it, I mean that's really powerful. So
I think that's sort of the terminal degree for companies.
Sure.
Now, not for public accounting firms. They just want you to have the CPA. They don't care about the master's degree. But I think the word that comes to mind is the CPA gives you flexibility.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. But you got to be stubborn enough to pass the darn thing.
And never give up.
Yep,
never give up.
That's right.
You may not. Hey, people say, I have a 4.0 average undergraduate. That does not mean that you're going to pass the exam.
No.
All right? Maybe you went to a school where they weren't that difficult. And even if they were, do you know in accounting, when they teach at college, they're not teaching for the CPA exam.
Really?
They're teaching people, to go. They're teaching accounting. So you can work in public accounting. You could work in government.
Sure.
All right? That type of thing. So, the universities don't teach for the exam.
Yeah. Oh, and the CPA exam is unlike any college exam ever created.
Right.
It's so much more involved.
So that's what we do. We take the material from the blueprints and we say, that's what you have to know. And by the way, the CPA Examination Division, they came up with those blueprints, all right? And usually I don't agree with everything the CPA does. Sure. But that was I wish I had that when I studied for the exam. It would have made it a lot easier to studying.
Yeah.
All right? But, nothing wrong with getting an MBA, but don't think in many respects that's a substitute for the CPA.
Sure, absolutely. All right, well, you ready to go get some coffee?
I am ready. What kind of coffee are we getting?
I'm just getting black.
I forgot. You drive a truck part-time, don't you?
Yeah,
pretty much. I'm just kidding. Black coffee? I can't stand black coffee. I usually have coffee with my cream.
Okay. To each his own. All right, well, let's keep coaching CPA candidates and get some coffee.
I think that's a great idea.
All right. All right, we got our coffee. Good to go.
Yeah, this is not bad coffee.
No, it's not bad at all.
Yeah, but I remember my days of, first working in New York as an accountant.
Sure.
And there were places, one of them was chock full of nuts. I don't know, probably, most people don't know of that name because they're no longer in New York. But they were all over the city and they had the best coffee. And every morning I'd stop by and get a plain donut.
Okay.
And the coffee, and I would dip it in there when I got to the office, and I was in heaven. So
made accounting bearable,
huh? Nothing made accounting bearable. But anyway, no. But
so since we're talking about coffee and the CPA exam, what do you have any advice for CPA candidates who are just starting out? What's as a CPA review course provider, I'm sure you deal with those types of candidates all the time.
Well, I think they have to be told more or less that the exam is not the most difficult thing in the world, and it's passable, but you have to make a commitment to it. You can't just go in, study a little, and then say, I'll take the exam. Yep. Because it still is a harder exam than maybe exams I had in college. So I say, hey, you got to set up a schedule, set up time, and and make sure you study. And we tell them, this part, study this many months, that type of thing.
Sure.
So yeah, that's probably the best advice I can give people.
Yeah. And for my coaching candidates, I give them what's called a life audit worksheet. So they break down every single day, what's their hobbies, what's their normal daily activities, what's their commute look like, so then that they can really just map out exactly day by day and squeeze in as many hours as possible. And then they can also, and part of the life audit is to look at those activities and be like, okay, what's less important than becoming a CPA? What's more important than becoming a CPA? And you really prioritize your entire life around the CPA exam, and that's really part of the mindset change that I think needs to happen in order to pass a CPA exam. So
yeah, and if they have a spouse,
yes,
they have to make sure, they have to tell the spouse, hey, you got to support me during this period of time.
Sure.
Because
absolutely.
it's not only the studying time, but it's also an emotional period, where you do get down sometimes when you feel like you're overwhelmed. So you need the support of your spouse. If you don't have that, it could be a real problem.
What if they don't have a spouse?
Then they don't have to get the support of their spouse. It's very simple. They can stop someone on the street, but no. Well, I guess if you have a good friend, but the problem is, unless someone really, really knows what this is like to go through, it's very hard to go and say, hey, I'm really depressed, and they'll say, well, I know exactly how you feel. Well, that's not really a true statement. Yeah. Because you don't know how someone feels taking this exam unless you've gone through it.
Sure.
But no, I mean, that's a problem. And I think that's what we're there for. If they're really down and they're studying for the exam, I'm sure they can contact me. They can contact you. Is that something you do?
That is something I absolutely do.
And you've been doing this for a long time, and you find you can bring someone up from how they feel if they're really down. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's really about finding community. So finding like-minded people who are going through the same thing that you're going through, and for some people that's kind of a challenge because they find themselves in this island being alone, where they feel like nobody understands what they're going through. And then if they fail, then their entire world just crumbles because they have nobody that they can talk to or really understand. And that's why I think having a mentor or a coach is so important. And it's why I provide the service that I do and why you give out your phone number so that people can chat with you, which is incredible.
I know what the experience is like. You know what the experience is like. We went through it.
Absolutely.
And did you get down at times?
Oh, yeah. Well, I failed 5 times in a row, and I was embarrassed. I didn't want to tell anyone.
It makes no difference how many times you take it. All right. The point is, no one's going to ask you how many times you took it, because we all get the same CPA license except different states.
Sure.
And we get the certification. Yeah. All right. No one has ever asked me how many times I took the exam. All right. How about you? Do you find that?
No, not at all.
Yeah. I mean, if you take it 5 times, if you feel really bad about that, don't tell anybody. But, you can turn it into a positive too and say, hey, I didn't pass. It's probably the hardest professional exam. So the point was, I didn't give up. And that's the whole thing. Yeah. All right. And we discussed that earlier, right?
Yeah. It's all about determination.
It's determination, and you don't give up. And if you don't give up, you will pass the exam.
Yeah. It just depends how stubborn you are.
Right.
Cool. All right. Well, are you ready to head to the accounting supply store?
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. Is that what we're doing today?
That's what we're heading out. All right, Phil, so I don't know about you, but I'm really excited. I haven't bought a 10 key in a very long time, and I just got a new laptop, and it doesn't have a numeric pad. So my hand, it would just start going like this randomly, and nothing would happen. So I had to get something. So I appreciate you coming out with me, and it turns out you got one as well.
Well, let's just say, and we found an Office Max, okay?
It's there.
We walked in, and you embarrassed yourself by saying, all right, do you have a 10 key? And the girl said...
I mean, she didn't know, but she's not an accountant, and most people can't be that cool. They can't handle that.
Of course.
Level
So we're cool dudes, as we say. Right. But she directed us over to one area. That's the one that actually attaches to the computer.
Right.
But I like the old-fashioned one.
Old school?
Which uses a paper trail. Well, yeah, I don't like that name, old school. You know,
Yeah.
People refer to us as old school learning, and that's actually, you need old school learning today to really pass the exam.
That's true.
All right, you do, because you have to understand the concepts. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think this is great. And hey, you got to have one of these one way or the other, whether it's this or the one I picked.
Sure. Well, and I mean, it really, when you're looking for a CPA review course, there's so many different options. But at the end of the day, most of them get the job done. But there are some things that you need to be aware of when you're looking for a CPA review course. So, I mean, what's your best advice? I mean, obviously, you're a little bit biased being a CPA review course provider.
No, I'm not biased at all. Come on. Come on.
So, you know, somebody who's looking for a CPA review course, what's your best advice for them?
Well, the best advice is that now the AICPA has gone away from strict content specification.
Okay.
Like, you know, you have to know inventories, you have to know business combinations. It was sort of vague. Sure. So what they did was they came up now with these blueprints,
okay,
all right, which are tasks. And under each blueprint, they give you the tasks they want you to know.
Okay.
And those are the items they're going to test on the exam. All right. Now, we decided to take each blueprint for each subject, and what we did is we wrote our textbooks and truly include the blueprints, and we include all the information under that blueprint that you have to know when you take the exam.
So you took the blueprints and then just basically filled in the blank.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, they were like the templates.
Sure.
And then we filled it in. And honestly, I mean, you know, as far as I know, we are the only course that really does that integration. And the other courses are not doing that.
Okay.
And yeah, I hear from people, hey, you know, I took this course and, you know, I didn't pass. And I took it 3, 4, 5 times. And then I say to them, did you use the blueprints? And they say, no, I've heard about them, but what are they? And it's amazing. A lot of people just don't know what the blueprints are.
Sure. Yeah, well, and I mean, what I like about Yaeger is how easily you present the information. You understand that people learn differently. So you have, you know, more of a visual focus versus a reader focus, and you really break down the best to help them figure out the best way to study. So, and you know, as a CPA exam coach, that's my primary job, is to help people understand that. So I had this one gal, Monica, she came to me, she had failed 9 times, and she was really sharp. She barely had to study in college and stuff like that. And but then the CPA exam came along and it just threw her for a loop, and she just couldn't figure it out. And she had failed 9 times over a couple of years. And so, you know, she joined my course. I helped her figure out how she should study for the CPA exam. And she had this aha moment, a light bulb moment, and she was able to easily pass within 6 months. And so as long as you have a course that presents the blueprints, and then it has, you know, decent multiple choice questions with explanations and simulations and stuff like that, then as long as you understand how you learn and are able to take your time and make it productive, to me, that's really the key to passing the CPA exam.
Yeah, and actually, as a course provider, we meet with the CPA Examination Division, usually the end of March.
Okay.
And the head of examination said, don't do thousands. I mean, some people, you know, bloggers, they write, hey, do thousands of multiple choice. Mm-hmm. And directly out of the mouth of the director of examinations, he said, no, do not do thousands of multiple choice, because the multiple choice that are released to us, the providers, are from the old content specification days.
Right, and they're not testing the higher level skills.
They're not,
right?
That's correct. And now they're testing higher level skills. And also, all right, these simulations. People will say to me, well, how many simulations do you have in your course? And I'll say, that's not important, because the simulations that the courses have are all author constructed.
Sure.
And they're not the ones that are released by the AICPA, because the AICPA doesn't want to really release these task-based simulations, so they can keep them in their test bank and give them again at some point.
Sure.
All right? It's hard to come up with task-based simulations.
Sure.
And the AICPA had advertised, hey, we're looking for people to make up task-based simulations. I'm not sure they got a tremendous response. Mm-hmm. So they're not about to release them to us. And, you know.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I think it's great, because that person you were talking about who said, you know, I had a 4.0 average in college. Mm-hmm. Well, I've heard that too.
Oh, yeah.
But they have to understand, and the person I spoke to said, well, you know, I got a 4.0 average. They should have passed me. And I said, what do you mean they should have? You know, there's nothing that guarantees you have a 4.0 average. That's the ticket to say, hey, I'm taking the exam. You better pass me.
Right.
All right? It sounds like that person was not the same.
Yeah. Yeah, and she really just didn't put in the right amount of time. She didn't study the right way, and she just tried to treat the CPA exam like another college exam.
And that's the thing. You got to give people structure, like you do, because many of the review courses, all right, except of course ours, all right, we give structure. We tell them, you know, this is what you do. You determine how many hours they have, if they work, that type of thing.
Sure.
You discuss whether you have a spouse and you need your spouse to support you, you know, in your emotions and all that.
Right.
So that's important. But the question I have, Brian, I mean, you called me about having coffee, all right?
Sure.
Actually, it was about getting these accounting supplies.
Tinkies, coffees.
But,
I mean,
you know, we've been talking about forming some type of partnership relationship.
Absolutely.
And I'm just trying to think, I know what I do, preparing people for the CPA exam, and I'm wondering how getting together could help the candidate. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. What's your feeling on that? What do you think?
Yeah. So I mean, basically, I provide a service that provides you with community. So if you don't have a community, then I'll basically give you somebody you can talk to who understands what you're going through. You can contact me. We also have a Facebook group. I also provide motivation. So I help you get your mindset right. So a lot of people aren't prepared for how difficult the CPA exam is, or maybe they've never failed academically before. So I help you overcome that. But then I also provide you with study methods. So I failed the multiple CPA exam sections of the CPA exam multiple times, but I figured out a way to pass the CPA exam. So I can show you step by step what I did wrong, but also what I did right, so that you can, you know, assess what your study personality is, and then craft a study plan that works for your specific situation. So a lot of it is really time management as well. So you're working 50, 60 hours a week. When are you going to find time to study? So I'll help you make the time to study as well. So I mean, really, Yaeger and Ultimate CPA Exam Guide, they work hand in hand to give you the best experience possible to pass in the CPA exam. And so, I mean, I think it makes perfect sense for us to bundle together and then offer something to anyone who's struggling, even brand new CPA candidates. I'll show you the best way to, so I have what's called a 6-month roadmap, so that you can plan to the day what you're going to be doing, so that you know exactly what happens. But it doesn't have to be 6 months. It can be 9 months, 12 months. And the key is that you're flexible during the entire way, so that when life happens and something happens that it interrupts your study cycle, then you know exactly what to do, because it breaks it down into a step-by-step process. So,
yeah, I mean, I do, you know, obviously, as a preparatory course, I had trouble saying that, we wrote books, blueprints. We keep those books up, all right? And obviously, we have to refilm our course when necessary. And we do Facebook videos on the technical nature of the exam, going over a subject. But the students call me and say, hey, I need some pep talk, or I need, you know, what should I do as far as scheduling? Now, I do that, but honestly, it's hard to do all of that. You can't be a jack of all trades.
Right.
So I think it is a good match because, one, you don't teach the CPA review
I leave that up to you guys.
Right. And you don't have to worry about books keeping them up.
Right.
So really, you provide the motivation, the setting up the scheduling, actually a map of how to pass the exam. And that is something that really, in many respects, I don't have the time to do. I mean, if they ask
I'd rather you focus on making sure the course is the best that it can be.
And that's why I think this could be a very good relationship. And also, I'm just really hell of a nice guy. And people who get together with me say, God, I'm lucky. And I say, well, yeah. But, you know, you seem like, you know, very nice. This is the first time I'm actually meeting you in person, right?
It is.
All right.
Made a special trip.
You made a special trip, and appreciate it. And he's very, very generous person. I mean, he's got a lot of class, and that's very important to me. People, seriously, people who have class, that's very important. And that was shown by, he brought me a gift, he brought my wife a gift. he didn't have to do that, but that shows what type of person he is. And I won't work with someone who's not that type of person. All right?
I won't do the same.
No, and I appreciate that. And hey, that shows the type of person you are. All right? And I think you're welcome. And I think when you talk to people, that personality will just come right out to them. And
yeah.
So,
well, and I think, you know, the CPA exam it's such an investment in your future. So, you know, our services, you know, it's not, it's tough to look at it as not an expense, but it's really an investment in your future. And you really want to invest in the right tools, because if you don't have the right tools, then you're going to end up, maybe you'll fail a section, and guess what? Those fees are going to add up super quick. So if you just invest in the right things right away and have the right people on your side, it's going to make the exam so much easier, and it's going to hopefully be something that will change your life forever. And that's my experience.
And because this is an investment you are making, you really should look into the different courses.
Yes.
Because our course may not be good for you. But actually, I think in this market, because we're the only one that really uses the blueprints as far as integrating, we will direct you with the right material. But, you know, we have one thing you should do, and I talked about this with you at another time, is they should go to the websites of the different providers.
Sure.
And see if they have demos of the different subjects and teachers teaching the material. And then you can get a feel for how their course is run.
Sure.
And if they don't have demos, that's got to tell you something. That's telling you they don't want you to see what they're doing, okay?
Yeah, and I mean, my coaching course, it does work with all the other CPA review course providers, but I just really like working with Phil because I see his values, and I do like his course a lot. So, you know, if you're coming from a different course, I do provide mentoring, but also if you're somebody who's failed with a different course, then I really think Yaeger is a very affordable course to switch over to.
Yeah, if you've taken another course, you know, there's nothing wrong. Contact Bryan. He's got his course. I mean, we will never force anybody to say, oh, you took ABC course, all right? Hey, that course is terrible. I won't do this, all right? And buy the bundle package. Our course, your mentoring program. I won't do that. If they're taking another course, and I will always say, is that working for you? And they'll say, yeah, I think so. Then I'll just say, well, look, just maybe you need that mentoring you're not getting from the courses, because most of the courses don't give any mentoring at all.
No.
They sell you the product and good luck to you. That's it.
Yeah, so, yeah, that was my experience. So, and that's why I created my coaching program.
Yeah,
so.
You got it. You know, and I think we're both service oriented.
No, yeah, and I mean, ultimately, our goal is to get you the right materials to pass the CPA exam. At the end of the day, that is our goal. Is to help you pass. So. All right, Phil. Well, this has been a great trip. I'm glad you got your tinky.
Hey,
I got my tinky.
Thank you for this.
Got some coffee.
We had coffee, and we discussed. He had to listen to me about New York and
the Yankees.
All right, the Yankees
versus the Cardinals.
Yankees. No, I actually have been out of New York for a long, long time, but it's like it never really. Actually, I've been living in the state of Maryland longer than New York, but you know, so you take the New Yorkish with you. I don't know. Yeah. It's not a bad trait.
Sure.
Okay,
absolutely.
Really.
All right, well, guys, if you're interested in our bundle or in Yaeger's course or my mentoring, there should be links above or below this video. So thanks again for hanging out with us.
And you were saying something about doing something in Facebook to make the people aware of this.
Oh yeah, this will probably be on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you guys are watching. We'll have links for more information about both our programs, and
also
go from there.
Don't forget to tell your friends and neighbors.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, you know,
yes,
because those are the people that are our marketing arm.
Yes.
The people who take the courses and refer us. We don't have to go and pay the extensive marketing that other courses have to take because people don't refer them.
Yeah. Yeah, we will get you the good results, and then you can just share.
Yeah.
That's all good. All right. Well, thanks so much, Phil. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure. You have a good day.
You as well.
And you got to take me back to where you picked me up.
We will, we'll head back now.
And enough coffee. We've had enough coffee.
Enough coffee for one day.
So there you have it, future CPA. I had a blast interviewing Phil, and the big takeaway for me was that if you are only focused on getting an MBA, you are really selling yourself short. So the CPA exam is going to open doors that you didn't even know existed in your career. Now, in terms of the CPA exam, my big takeaways from our conversation was that if you are serious about passing the CPA exam, you need a CPA review course that teaches you directly from the AI CPA blueprints. So you need to stop worrying about how many multiple choice questions you're doing and focus on actually understanding what the blueprints are asking of you. And you also need a mentor to help you determine how to study the right way so that you aren't just stuck studying and praying that you are doing it right. And if this is something that you need help with, Phil and I would love to be your go-to resource. So if you're interested in learning more, check out mycpaexammentor.com for all of the fun info. All right, so that's all for today. Thanks for watching.